Stop misbehaving.
My daughter Kate and I are camping at the side of the road on our way to Birdsville. We are crossing Australia through the middle.
You want a shower, Kate, wherever you are?
And we are about to hit real desert, real isolation in the Simpson Desert. Apart from this campsite being remembered by the campsite for all the flies and later all the moths and biting mosquitoes, also for an absolutely magnificent night sky. Today it's more driving. We've about 700 kilometres to go to Birdsville. Birdsville for me is where the true outback begins, although this is the outback, but it's one of the centres of the outback. And then from there continue west, crossing the Simpson Desert, which is for me the highlight of probably the entire trip. And I've already been on the road for close to 5 weeks, so I'm really looking forward to that bit.
Just stopped to have some breakfast. Andrea is absolutely covered in flies. It's one on my hand. Oh, that is nasty. Oh, yuck.
What?
Your back is covered in flies. Yuck, get out. Ugh.
No, I'm not. It's you. You were speaking about breakfast cereals.
Well, you wanted to talk about breakfast cereals.
You had something very interesting to say about breakfast cereal. Now say it.
Okay, we just stopped to have breakfast and we found Alpen. Well, my mum found Alpen and she sent me the other side of Australia with Alpen for breakfast.
Alpen is an English product. Blue muesli. Best muesli in the world.
Yeah, it's not too crunchy.
And until you came, I didn't even know it was available in Australia. So this is a great day for mankind.
We can get Alpen in Australia again.
Yes.
And you've got to be really precise how you eat your Alpen in the morning, making sure that you have at least one raisin left for your last mouthful.
However, the great thing about Alpen is that if you eat it in outback Australia and there are lots of flies, you can't find a raisin for your last mouthful, you can always sort one.
Ew.
That's a wedge-tailed eagle in front of us. He can hardly fly. Wedge-tailed eagle. On a kangaroo, on a dead kangaroo. The story behind the wedge-tailed eagle is that they will gorge themselves so that they're so full that they can't fly. But then when a car comes along, they'll want to fly. They'll always fly into wind. There have been stories of wedge-tailed eagles taking off on hitting an approaching car and burst open, covering the car in maggots, because the bird has been sitting around so long gorging itself that actually the meat that it's eaten is rotting inside it. Whether these are bushtails, this is a bushtail, I don't know, but well, there you have it. We have seen on this trip already considerably more dead life and wildlife than my Canning Stock trip. For example, we saw a bush possum a couple of nights ago. Actually pooed on me. I didn't mind. It was a bush possum. And red and grey kangaroo this morning. Lots of emu yesterday. And as far as the dead life is concerned, really amazing, which just shows you how much wildlife there is in this area. We arbitrary 2-minute period. The longest time that we had to wait to see a dead animal was 20 seconds. And we counted that there was probably more than 10 dead animals at the side of the road per kilometre. That's the kind of roadkill. It's the roadkill. It really is something. There's so many dead animals. Can you see
why so many kangaroos get killed. They have this magnetic attraction to vehicles. This is typically what happens. They see the vehicle, they're running away from the vehicle, but they actually run toward the vehicle. And they run towards the vehicles. If I hadn't slowed down, we would have hit it. Truck drivers don't slow down. They just drive. Amazing. Suicidal.
There are obvious signs of the late rains everywhere. It makes for lovely pictures, but the flies that are here because of it don't make filming easy.
So we tried to get a drone shot. Flies. Billions and billions of flies. So we've had to abandon it because I can't actually even see what I'm doing with the drone. So we'll try again later, I guess.
Okay, so we've just gotten back into the car. It's pretty crazy. Every time we get out, we get swarmed by flies. He just ate one by accident. They're really, really gross. We tried to fly the drone. It's too windy, and to be honest, it's actually miserable because of the flies. You actually just can't move. You get out the car and you think it's all right, and then within like 1 minute, you're just swarmed and you can't move. So it's pretty disgusting.
This is a spot called Dion's View, about 200 kilometers from Birdsville, and you can get an idea here of the vastness of the landscape and the distance of the road ahead of us. It's pretty lonely traveling, but of course everybody kind of ends up in places like this. These are the stopping points where people congregate, and I imagine people have actually camped up here. But everything going fine. About to have lunch. Flies are pretty intolerable even in this wind. Gravel.
Okay.
Gravel has begun. I'm going to go into four-wheel drive. I can see it's not very stable. Whoa, it's not stable at all. Now, because these are automatic locking hubs, I can do it from the cab, but I have to stop first. When we get to the real rough stuff, that's when I will engage them in manually. You've got to stop all the way, clunk. Otherwise it makes horrible noises in the gearbox. Okay, about 260 kilometers of this kind of gravel.
May is mustering season in much of the outback, so there is a lot of activity on many of the cattle stations.
Here is why the flies are so bad. In Australia there is no natural way of breaking down powder. And in certain parts of Australia they actually import the African dung beetle to do that. But this is why the flies are so bad in Australia. Of course, we have been driving for the last 2 days through enormous, vast cattle stations, and this is just yet another one of them. Alrighty, how you doing there?
It's disgusting.
Pretty good, eh? Look at that. Oh dear.
They're literally eating me.
Oh dear. So now, what we're going to try and do, we're going to try and speed up and then wave them all out of the car as we speed up, and then gradually pick up speed. Right, that is the standard startup procedure, followed now by making a small crack in the window like this, so there's negative pressure, and then waving your arms around frantically and getting them to land on the window. And if they land on the window, they get sucked out. So we finally entered Birdsville. Long 3-day drive. And Birdsville is kind of a cultural centre of this part of the outback, and we're going to the famous Birdsville Roadhouse to get some fuel, and we'll look for another fly net as well.
We are busy looking for a campsite. We're in Birdsville finally after 3 days of pretty hideous driving, actually, about 8 hours a day. So we're pretty pleased. We're gonna go look for a face net for me because outside all you can see is flies just swarming the car. So tonight is gonna be really unpleasant. So we're off to go find a hairnet for me.
In preference to camping in the public campground, we've elected to drive a few kilometres out of town and find some trees.
But I've got a feeling it's gonna become my friend. I don't know, it's got a hole in it.
Yeah, it's for a hat.
I have a hat, it's fine. But it's all the way in the back. I'm gonna go like this.
Good.
They can still land on my face.
Hi.
It's disgusting. You smell.
You smell? Would you like the smell of it too?
On my feet. Don't put it on my face.
I just put it on my face.
Oh no, you're gonna die. Oh. This is probably the grossest thing I've ever encountered. Maybe that toilet at that lookout point today could give it a run.
The grossest thing with the flies.
Yeah, no, this is the grossest thing, honestly. Ooh, and I've got mosquito bites ripped open. Stings.
We've had it on good authority from somebody who's actually just driven across the desert that the flies are as bad, if not worse, in the desert than as here. And it's because of the late rains. Lots of water coming through that's just brought with it, they tell us, a billion mosquitoes followed by a billion flies, and they're just kind of waiting for the water to recede so the flies recede with it. But this is what we're going to have to live with for the next at least 5 days, possibly more, because the rains are widespread through this part of Australia, which is a real pity because I need to be able to get beautiful footage and tell a story and everything, and it's miserable. It's being with the flies. It's not fun at all. Now the modus operandi is you do nothing until darkness falls, when the flies disappear and go and sleep. Up to that point you do nothing, because if you pitch a tent they just fill the tent. You open it and fill the car. So you just do nothing. You can sit in an air-conditioned car or wear this, otherwise you will actually go mad, bonkers, or we'll do what we're doing now, just wait for sunset, which is probably in half an hour's time.
Oh, it's so gross. It doesn't really do it justice. I'm crying.
Some of them bite. However, that one doesn't. What are they?
That's our dishcloth! Thank you.
Here's to waiting for the sun to set.
And the wildlife to disperse.
See folks, only on Forex Overland do you get the real truth behind overlanding. You get the misery and the fun. And all the bad jokes. We've got other bad jokes. We'll leave them.
You.
Thank you.
Tonight we will be having rice with whatever I can find to fly on the lens. Yeah, I'm not really sure what I'm going to find. I wanted to cook up something a bit nicer, but it's windy. But thank goodness the flies are starting to disperse a little bit.
Catch it, put it in a jar to have and to hold. To save for later, you cannot trust it to come again. To wait for you to find a pen and fill the paper with the message that it wants to send. Grab it, hold it by its tail before it escapes. You know its ways and you cannot lose it, that's what you feel. So hold it up against your ear and very
Just want you to take a photo.
carefully listen to what it
The
wants
asparagus
you to hear.
is ready.
Asparagus is ready.
Asparagus is ready.
Oh, well, woken up this morning. It's very cold, actually. Last night we had actually wanted to camp next to the Big Red Dune. Big Red is Australia's tallest sand dune, and it's a tourist attraction in the area and a big attraction of the Simpson Desert Crossing. And we thought, well, we'd camp near the base of it and get ready to climb. But it's all private properties, all part of big stations. So we've had to come back into town and camp. The campsite in town was packed with grey overland, what they call grey nomads, and so we camped on a riverbed just outside of town, which is free camping and it's absolutely allowed. However, to put a spanner in the works, I have an eye infection caused by an insect that flew into my eye, not last night, but the night before last, and I thought it was actually fine. And I've woken up this morning, it's all red, all puffy, all crusty, it's definitely infected, and I can't go into the desert with an infected eye because that would be stupid, because that's 4 to 5 days of complete wilderness and no way of treating this. So that's put a little bit of a spanner in the works. We'll see if we can find a doctor or something in Birdsville this morning who can treat me, give me something for it. Overlanding is not always sunshine and roses. Well, it is sunshine, not always, but it is now because there's the sun. But we got to take the rough with the smooth. So our whole trip hinges upon the fact that A, I can find a doctor, B, that there is a antibiotic eye drop in Birdsville, because if not, the nearest town of any size, and when I say any size, I'm talking about tiny, because this really is truly minute, is a day's drive away. That's how long it's taken us to get from the last, if not more. So this really is a very, very outback place. We'll see if we get lucky. Lucky day. Flying doctor was there. He saw me. Yes, looks like it's a kind of conjunctivitis. Couldn't tell if it was an infection or viral, but having been probably caused by the insect that went into my eye, more than likely bacterial. Gave me some drops. $10. That's cheap. I mean, when do you get anything of that value for $10? So it's off to the desert. Given that the flying doctor only visits every 10 days or more, we were very lucky indeed.
I'm pretty excited. It's the tallest sand dune in Australia. Yeah, we're going to try to tackle it.
It's a landmark, you know, people come from, like we have, from thousands of miles around just to drive Big Red. So Little Red is the escape route. So
I'm going to try not to take the escape route.
yes, well, we'll see. I'm not going to decide now until I see it. Because the thing is, with an overland trip like this, an expedition like this, you do not want to damage your vehicle. We've got thousands of kilometers to go on really rough tracks. You cannot risk damaging your vehicle because then your entire trip is like finished. But at the same time, you want excitement and interest, and so it's a balancing act, as far as I'm concerned, of when do you push the vehicle and when do you not push the vehicle, and this is going to be a difficult decision.
Oh, we haven't seen it yet.
Oof. Actually, get in my eye. Went in my other eye. They're not particularly big dunes. It's probably not the size and height, it's probably just the fact that it is just a difficult obstacle. And it's coming up now.
Big Red sand dune.
That doesn't look even a little bit difficult. So there's something I'm not seeing. Maybe the big dune is the other side of that because that isn't much. Anyway, we're going to prepare for our desert crossing now by tires down, flag up, all of the bits and pieces we do now to cross the desert.
Wait, don't open the door, flies! Fly mask!
So, big red, huh? Big. You call it big? I mean, it's red. It doesn't look very big.
So I'm going to go down to, can't see this properly through this net, about 18 psi, which is about 1.5 bar, something like that. psi. You are covered in flies. Unbelievable, Kate. You see, there's no precedent that nobody's ever driven these tyres before. Maybe I'm the first person in the world to drive KM3s on dunes and in thick sand. I don't know. Probably not. But anyway, they're new to me, so I'm going to let them down at a pressure that is familiar. What I would have let down my KO2s. Same kind of pressure, and let's see how they perform. So I've got something to reference the performance against. The change in shape of the back is considerably more than the front, which tells me how much more weight I'm actually carrying on the back. And that, to me, is about as low as I want to go on the back, looking at its shape. There you go, 1.6 bar, that's 21-ish psi. That's what I'm going to leave them at.
With the flies, Bunch just gotten my mask and I'm just not coping with the flies. Oh my god.
There's likely to be other traffic in the Simpson, so to make ourselves more visible to oncoming traffic crossing the dunes, a dune flag is necessary.
There you go.
Right.
We're about ready.
Yeah.
Okay. Low. Third is normally the magic gear climbing. I love this gear. So, to be honest with you, how difficult can it be? It doesn't look difficult. Into third. Okay, we're getting a little bit more difficult because this turning is the problem.
Really sandy. Looked cool.
Did it look good?
Yeah.
The sky and the orange must look really
Oh,
beautiful.
it's fantastic. I'm very sandy. Right, let's go.
Almost time for a Coke.
It's always time for a Coke.
I don't understand, guys. I don't get it. What is all the fuss about Big Red? It should be mediocre red. Now this one ahead actually looks far more difficult. It doesn't have a big sweeping curve, but it's steeper. It looks more difficult than Big Red. Maybe this is Big Red too. 1,200 plus minus dunes to cross. How do you feel?